you want to go to the hospitals and get to ordinarily see how people are treated. I don't want to tell you how many of us can comfortably go to hospitals in Nigeria. How many of us can comfortably fall sick, get admitted, and go to hospitals? How many of us can comfortably have an emergency and pick up our phones and dial an emergency number and see the police officers get to come? Do we even have emergency numbers functioning so well? Apart from few metropolitan cities that get to ordinarily do that, the rural areas, do you even have a police station in your place? Is there a hospital in your village? Do you think hospitals are things meant only for those in the cities? Do you think good schools are things only those in the city should ordinarily have? Do you think your life and the life of your parents in the village or in rural areas ordinarily were supposed to be the way they are in the 21st century as opposed to how they ordinarily were supposed to be? Do you think you as a student ordinarily should go to school and get to be so scared of paying bribe and all that? I have little experience, one-on-one experience as it concerns my encounter with public schools in Nigeria, and I sometimes want to consider myself as a privileged Nigerian, but to even think of the fact that I'm a privileged Nigerian is a problem because I've not come to seriously deal with professors and lecturers when it comes to places of higher learning. And I am kind of grateful to a large extent that I can sit down and read from exams and pass. And they're not so difficult a thing to ordinarily get to pass exams. Passing exams shouldn't be that difficult in the first place, but we have just given ourselves to this particular reality, and we have almost come to that point in our life where we tell ourselves that nothing can change and nothing can change us, and nobody should bother trying to change us because nothing can ordinarily change in our life. And I say this, and you see this also in your own life. You see this in the ways we do business, in the ways we even worship God, from our current traditional worshiping trends and the ways in which people want to go back to their roots, not for true worship, not for true claiming of the African root, but for acquiring power, acquiring wealth. These things they get to sell themselves, the same things Christianity at the moment in the country is facing, the same thing Islam is one way or the other propagating for the people. The idea of coming to God as though it's a transaction. It is that level of decay we have come to see in the day-to-day events that have become our situation. You give to God because you want Him to give to you. From Catholic bazaars to Protestant Thanksgivings to Pentecostal prophecies and prosperity gospel, these things are not far-fetched. They are within our reach. They are within the reality in which we have come to find ourselves at the moment. They are within this place. They are within our places of interaction and experience. And it leaves me asking the question, which type of God do you worship? A God that easily changes his mind, or a God that you ordinarily can get to command to prophesy into your life? I don't understand. Because my understanding of prayer is talking to God, not shouting at Him, not commanding Him, not calling Him down as if He is one servant of yours or what. I don't understand. That might be the case that there are some terrestrial spirits that ordinarily can do one or two things, or there are forces in nature through incantation and through certain rituals. Those are up for debate. But if we're looking at the idea of a God in the real and the strict sense of the word, it becomes a challenge for us to ordinarily relate to Him the way we relate to Him, and yet we don't feel sad that we relate to God the ways we relate to Him. It becomes a problem that when you look at your life and you look at your situation and you look at the way things are in your life and you look at the fact that you can just shout on God, it shows you how corrupt and how depraved your mind also at the moment is. Because that is not the right way to religion. That is not the promise of religion in the strict sense. The promise of religion has to do with filling the void, the Augustinian void of, Lord, you've made us for yourself and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. That sense of meaning, the meaning crisis we're experiencing, that is the primary reason of God not granting wealth. Wealth comes from creation. Wealth comes from creating wealth down here. And the whole clamor for money has not always been that way. Money is an invention. man-made invention, and we have to work within the jurisdiction that is the creation of wealth physically and not tied down to God. Be it the case that whether you are going back to the roots of what we now call African traditional religion, or you're a Christian, or you're a Muslim, or you are a Buddhist, or you are a Hindu, or whatever you currently get to ascribe yourself, or you're a Jew, or you're even an atheist, it doesn't call for this clamor to seek the spiritual solely because of you wanting wealth. It becomes a deception. It becomes a corrupt stuff from your own perspective. And these and many more are just the few problems you will get to experience when you come to tolerate corruption, when you come to allow a place like Nigeria to wallow in corruption. And I tell you, corruption is everywhere. It's in your family, it's in my family, it's in the day-to-day activities of the country. It is in every available corner of our country, and by extension, Africa, and by extension, also the world. But we just accepting this as the answer alone and as the way forward alone is a thing we ordinarily must not do. It's a thing we ordinarily should not accept. Accepting this leaves us dying. Accepting this situation leaves us crumbling. Accepting this leaves us to our own disaster, and we get to destroy our civilization from within before it gets to be destroyed from without, just like Uyuduran will get to tell us. And so, what am I saying? In essence, I am saying something very simple. I am saying something very straightforward. We have to nip corruption at its very board. It's not even a board at the moment. We have to deflate it. It's become bigger than a balloon. It's more than a hot balloon at the moment. It's flying everywhere. We have to put off the heat. We have to deflate the tire. We have to wage a war against it, rather than this idea of wanting to benefit from it and wanting to benefit from it alone. Because that is what we do. We just think, it's our family's turn. It's our turn to benefit. And if anybody wants to try to stop us, then the person is currently doing us a disfavor. If somebody wants to do something different, then the person is ordinarily an enemy of progress and stuff like that. But where is progress in corruption? There's no benefit for the corrupt, and there's no benefit from those deprived from corruption. Nobody really gets to benefit from corruption, because you get to see a serious waste of resources, a serious waste of a whole lot of things that becomes the reality at the end of the day. And there's nobody that has really benefited. You want to look at the politician who gets to steal money and deprive children from going to schools and deprive communities from roads and stuff like that. What will he have to do? The reality of what he will have to live with is such a thing as him sending his children to well-to-do schools. They might be in the country, they might be out of the country, but then also he will be depriving the children the chance and the opportunity of meeting new people, of meeting people of different ethnic groups, of meeting people outside his or her own reality, people that sometimes might be supportive and come to collaborate with such kids in the future to get to bring about different innovations and different ideas and different solutions to the problems of the world. But what has he succeeded to do? Because he has failed to ordinarily look at his life and ordinarily look at the situation of things from the perspective he ordinarily was supposed to look at it from, he deprives the child of the chance to ordinarily grow, of the chance to ordinarily function well, of the chance to ordinarily do what that child was ordinarily supposed to do, to see to it that the child lives happily and the child lives well. And so you get to see the level of inequalities and the gaps continue to be wild and wide and wide and wide. And there's almost no meeting point. There's almost no place of meeting. And so such a child gets to live life in isolation. What about chances of coming to know the other tribe and coming to know other persons? The child is boxed in this particular category and knows only that particular reality, and sometimes grows to become as corrupt as the father. Just like Rehoboam, my father has done this to you, I'm going to do this to you guys. I'm going to do 10 times more than what my father did to you guys. because of the councils and those I listen to.